Hi guys! Today I'm going to be doing another review. This one is going to be for the Divergent Trilogy and for the short story collection related to the trilogy. So if you saw my wrap up for February, you can see that I finished out the trilogy and am absolutely in love with it. I've never had a bigger book hangover, but I'm still thinking about these characters, which also goes to the fact that I'm listening to Divergent on audiobook. So this is a trilogy about a dystopian society where everybody is split up into factions, which we find out more about them later on. Like in Allegiant, they really go into where they come from, but you don't really learn about that in Divergent. But you have your 5 factions: Abnegation, Amity, Candor, Dauntless, and Erudite. Those are the 5 factions. Abnegation believes in selflessness. Amity is all about peace. Candor believes in the truth. Dauntless believes in being brave. And the Erudite believe in knowledge. Start the books off, you have Triss, Abnegation, doesn't know if she belongs there. Overall, I thought it was a really good series. I loved how the world progressed, how everybody grew, a little bit of character development in some of them, not like amazing or anything, but they were really fun to read about. Don't let all of those negative Nancys bring you down. Allegiant was definitely my favorite out of the series. There were parts in it where I just wanted to like cry because of what had happened and how they were dealing with it. So I definitely hands down think it was a great trilogy. Now I'm going to get into spoilers. I'm going to write down here which one I'm on. So let's start with Divergent. Alright, so I thought Divergent was a great start to a series. It had good world building. It was good at introducing everything. I really knew what was going on, even though it was the first book of the series. I really felt like I understood what was happening. I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, so much world building. What's going on? It was easier to get along with. She really introduced everything nicely and really made it stick. She made the factions very understandable. Triss was a little annoying as a character for some parts of this book because she complains like she doesn't feel good enough about herself to stay in abnegation. She's so concerned about, you know, she's not selfless enough and stuff like that. And it gets a little annoying after a while hearing her say the same thing over and over and over again. But at the same time, like, it's easy to understand where she's coming from because you realize that she's human, you know, not everybody has super selfless tendencies. But then it's also nice that she still like fights for things. After she gets into Dauntless, she fights. She doesn't just stop and, you know, let things happen to her. She's fighting for it. There are moments where she kind of backs up and she lets things happen because realizes that she kind of needs to because things are threatening her life now. But at the same time, she really does fight for it. I really like 4. I really like 4. Oh my goodness. He did bother me a bit for a little while because there is kind of a power dynamic in that relationship where he is her instructor. He is 2 years older and she does feel a little self-conscious about that. But at the same time, like, I feel like it wasn't overdone. It was nice. Like, it was a nice balance of what it should be and it wasn't like bad. And I like how Trish just points it out. Like, you know, she doesn't just let it go. She's like, hey, you're an ass. One of the things that she actually says is, why do you care anyway? You can either be cruel instructor or concerned boyfriend. You can't play both parts at the same time. Are you fucking kidding me? If that fire alarm starts going off in my building, I'm gonna be pissed. It went off yesterday morning at like 8 o'clock. Like, who the fuck sets the fire alarm off at 8 o'clock? Like, no. Okay. And she makes a really good point there, you know? He's not very good at doing both at the same time. He can't do both at the same time. And he makes a really good point back, you know? Like, I can't do these things while other people are around because then they'll think that your ranking is because I like you. And he admits that he likes her and all this stuff. And I like their relationship. I like it. I think they're cute. And I like the way it progresses throughout the trilogy. They get more on an even ground and it's nice to see their relationship grow and mature and stuff like that. Insurgent. At the end of Divergent, we have this attack on Abnegation. The Erudite use the Dauntless to attack Abnegation. And you realize that there are a couple people who can withstand the serum. 4 and Triss can. So they fight back. They also kind of run away. 4 also gets put into a different simulation and almost shoots Triss in the face and then doesn't. Triss was really frustrating in this book. We know that she is kind of brash and we know that she likes to do things that she shouldn't do and we know all of that stuff about her. But to the extent that she does it in this book is a little ridiculous. She goes so far as to literally put herself in the hands of the erudite who were trying to kill her and let them kill her. Like, she literally gives them the opportunity to kill her. Like, are you stupid? Do you have any sense of self-preservation whatsoever? You dying is not gonna stop them from hunting everybody. It's not gonna do anything. That was stupid. And then Tobias goes and fucking shows up, and I'm like, what the hell is your problem? Could you not? I like you. Could you not die too? And then Caleb, just fucking Caleb. Fucking Caleb. Don't even wanna, I'm not even gonna talk about him. Peter surprised me in this one because, you know, throughout Divergent he's an ass, and then he saves Triss's life in this one, which was nice. A little surprising, but nice. He changes as a character, but at the same time he doesn't change at all throughout the entire trilogy. I like the way that Triss and Tobias's relationship changes in this one. I really like the aspect of it shows you how much more he needs her than she realizes. I liked getting to see one of the other factions. We don't really get to see much about Candor. Like, Candor is like, whatever, nobody really cares. But they end up in the Amity compound, and Amity, like, I have big problems with Amity because of the way that they do things and the way that they decide that they're going to stay neutral. If you're going to kick these people out of your compound in the hopes of staying neutral, you're not staying neutral. You're literally handing them over to the people who are hunting them. I got really confused towards the end of this book because the big fight, like the big storming of the erudite compound, I thought was going to happen in the third book. Like, I thought that was going to be the end of the trilogy. I thought that was going to be the big moment, but it wasn't. And it didn't really set up anything either. Like, at the end of the book, I didn't know what was gonna happen in Allegiant. I didn't know what was coming. So in Allegiant, we follow them as they leave the city. Like, they actually manage to leave the city and they find a government set up in an old airport, and they manage to stay with them, and they find out where the factions come from. They find out why they're there. The city's an experiment. All of the factions are because of genetic mutations, because they tried to create these genetic modifications in people so that their personalities wouldn't have certain things, which ended up backfiring because giving a person a certain personality trait made it impossible for them to have other personality traits. But when the genetic manipulations begin to take effect, the alterations had disastrous consequences. As it turns out, the attempt had resulted not in corrected genes, but in damaged ones. Take away someone's fear or low intelligence or dishonesty and you take away their compassion. Take away someone's aggression and you take away their motivation or their ability to assert themselves. Take away their selfishness and you take away their sense of self-preservation. If you think about it, I'm sure you know exactly what I mean. I tick off each quality in my mind as he says it. Fear, low intelligence, dishonesty, aggression, and selfishness. He's talking about the factions. And he's right to say that every faction loses something when it gains a virtue. The Dauntless, brave but cruel. The Erudite, intelligent but vain. The Amity, peaceful but passive. The Candor, honest but inconsiderate. The Abnegation, selfless but stifling. So it really makes more sense after they explain that. And then for someone to be divergent means that they're genetically pure. They're genetically back to where we are today. So it was really interesting, like, learning that whole aspect of it and actually having Veronica Roth think that far into it, that she could put that much detail into the backstory of where the factions came from and why this city exists. And then this time the big thing is the fight against the Bureau of Genetic Welfare, which is where they are, because the Bureau wants to reset the city by erasing everyone's memories, and Triss has a problem with that. She's not the only one who has a problem with that. A lot of them have a problem with this, but that's the plan. So now they're trying to reset the Bureau instead of resetting the city. This book is told through Triss and Tobias's perspective, back and forth. So it was really interesting because Triss was still in the compound and Tobias was in the city. So you get to see what's going on in both places at the same time. I was so mad though, because Caleb is supposed to go into the chamber or the private room or whatever, and he's supposed to risk his life by getting doused with the death serum, but he's supposed to be wearing a suit, so it's not supposed to get to him as fast, and he's supposed to reset everything. But Triss, being stupid fucking Triss, decides, oh, I'm divergent, maybe it won't affect me. No, it's not going to affect you, but getting shot will. Which you don't realize she's going to until after it happens. because David's in there and fucking homeboy needs to quit. Her dying didn't bother me. It could have if I hadn't been spoiled, but it didn't bother me. What bothered me was the next 50 pages where 4 is mourning her death. Like, oh my god. He was so upset about it. Like, he was so heartbroken and mad, and he considered like erasing his own memory just so he wouldn't have to deal with the everyday like, I miss her. And then Christine walks in on him almost doing it, and she's like, no, you can't do that. How do you can't honor her memory by forgetting her. You have to remember her. And then a year later they finally like have a little funeral, and he finally goes off the I think it's the Hancock building. They zip line down and he takes her ashes and lets them go. And then we get to 4. A Divergent collection was so great, because after I finished Allegiant I was like, no, it can't be over, so I had to pick up this book right away, and it was so nice. 3 of the short stories are from before Divergent. They are his transfer, like him going to his choosing ceremony and choosing to go to Dauntless. Then we have the story of his initiation, like him going through initiation, and then when he finds out that his mother is actually alive. And then the other story is when he does some sneaking on the computers and finds out what Erudite and Dauntless are planning, kind of, and then he tells somebody, which happens after Divergent starts because Triss is involved in that. And it was just really nice, like his stories, because you got to see him for who he was and like why he did everything and why it happened that way and why he chose to do it the way he did it. But then we also get these other 3 where it's just like one scene from Divergent where 4 is doing it. You get the first jumper, Triss, careful Triss, and you look good, Triss. And it's just really nice to see his interaction with her, like from his point of view. I would love it if Veronica Roth decided to make Divergent again from 4's perspective, and if she decided to rewrite Insurgent from 4's perspective. I would buy that, like, immediately. I would love that so much. It would just make my life better. After getting that perspective, I just don't want to let go. Like, I want more of it. I loved it. I thought it was great. So overall, I really enjoyed this trilogy. I really enjoyed the short stories. I just really enjoyed all of it. I think it was great. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can check out my next video. Let me know what you think of this trilogy. Maybe we can have some discussions. Have a great day and a wonderful week. Bye.